Hold on. Sorry, mate. Where are you
No,
living?
good. South Yarra. So I've been in that little Richmond bubble for a while, but it's nice. It's like it's weird living in a building with people. You like there's so many people around you, but you never see anyone. So
Yeah.
it's probably a few murderers and shit in here, but it's good.
Mate, hold on. Oh, mate, we're good. I'm going to introduce you like a gentleman, if that's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me, but I like it.
Well, I'm not one either. So, okay, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wandering Bear Sports Podcast, the number one sports podcast in the world. Today's very special guest is the best loosehead prop in Australia and also has the biggest chest in professional rugby, Cameron Orr. How are you, buddy?
I'm well. Thank you for having me on, Chubby.
No
Appreciate
worries,
it.
mate. We were just talking before I press record. You've done your hammy. What happened?
Yeah, just no good in training, getting over a ball. Probably not my job. You should leave it to the back rowers. And then, unfortunately just got twisted the wrong way. And fortunately not surgery or anything, but looks like it'll be a couple of weeks on the sideline, which is no good. But I'll definitely be back for a couple of games and all the New Zealand stuff, which is at least a bit of a positive.
So explain so how's it working this year? So you're doing the Australian thing again, and then it goes into like Australia, New Zealand competition?
Yeah, so I think they're two separate comps. So the first one will be like a home and away. Interesting to see how that goes.
But just the Aussies?
Yeah, just Aussies. So we've got round one off. We got a bye, but then we play home and away wherever we go. The ones we're kind of a bit interested to see what will happen is with Western Force and that, because I think they might have to get out of WA if restrictions don't ease.
So they're going to have to do what you guys did last year, potentially.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had to do it anyway last year. I mean, we kind of forget like that. They were probably the first ones to do it. And they probably had it a bit harder because they were in the Hunter Valley and they weren't really close and they were quite strict with their restrictions. So they were stuck in just literally a bubble and weren't allowed to do much at all. So it's not too bad. But
how did it work last year? So like I wasn't really paying too much. I watched all the games, but like what you guys had to go through. So Melbourne shuts down. What happened then for you guys?
It was a strange one. We kind of played that last game. I think it was the Lions. We had a really good game, and then we were playing the Sunwolves on the Friday. Coming in that Monday morning, everyone was in training, and then we got a call Monday night saying be in Tuesday morning, bright and early, don't need training kit. So we're all thinking, what's the go here? Like we'll probably just have to spend a couple of days at home. It wasn't too bad in Melbourne at the time. And then progressively overnight, things got worse and worse. And then Tuesday, we kind of said, look, there's no training, get your stuff packed. We're going to Canberra for a couple of weeks.
So it was literally like that. It was literally like that.
Yeah. And they were just saying, okay, well, we got 2 weeks in Canberra, then hopefully it'll all get better. Ended up being, I think, 12, 13 weeks on the road for us. And then we shifted on to Terrigal for most of it, which was quite good. It was good, unbelievable setup.
Could wives and girlfriends go, or was that a later thing?
Yeah, they sorted. So not initially to Canberra, but a few like guys with kids and stuff, their wives came up and brought the kids and everything like that. But then for Terrigal, I'd say probably 50% of the squad of those guys with partners definitely had them there and stuff. And look, it was actually quite good. The club got like after the games, get the girlfriends, the wives in, all that stuff. So it's sort of it's a home away from home. But look, Canberra wasn't great. It was cold. I mean, imagine what Canberra's like in COVID, let alone in the midst of their busiest periods. There's no one there. So that was a bit strange. But then Terrigal was awesome. Like we had a little bit more freedom and stuff. Like still had to do all that COVID safe stuff, but there was a few opportunities for a couple of coldies every now and again, which was awesome and kind of keep people grounded.
Was there any restrictions on you? Like, so did you guys just have to stay in like the Terrigal bubble? So like just families, could you go out for coffees or do any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, coffees were fine. Like takeaway and all that stuff was pretty good. No one was allowed to go into Sydney and stuff, and half the team has family in Sydney, which made it hard. But it was weird because they were like the restrictions. They were allowed to come up to Terrigal and spend time with us anyway. We just weren't allowed to travel into Sydney.
So for games, how did it work? So you would go, so just say you were playing in Brisbane, you'd go from Terrigal to Sydney, fly to Brisbane, and then fly back all on the same day.
All on the same day. That was honestly one of the hardest things. Like they did their best, but we were setting off for a 7:40 game at 10 a.m. So even earlier, 9 a.m. we were on a bus going to Sydney Airport, get up to Brisbane, and they sorted us out. So they got us beds in at Suncorp Stadium.
Yeah.
So we had like all inflatable beds, so we could have a sleep for about an hour and a half. But then by the time you're up, there's nothing really you can do. You still feel lethargic and stuff. And then back on the plane after, and then all the way to Sydney, and then drive up to Terrigal after. So genuinely, it was about an 18, 19-hour day.
Wow.
Pretty full on. But, you make do.
Yeah, well, it'd be pretty hard to have a sleep before you're playing a Super Rugby game, I'd imagine.
Oh, terrible. I mean, you want to relax and stuff.
But there's that anxiety.
Like you're on edge.
Yeah. Do you get that anxiety?
100%. So before a game, it's that 2-3 hour kind of timing where before the game you're just purely thinking about it. And by getting on a bus at 10 a.m., you automatically trigger that you're like, okay, well, I'm on my way to a game now.
Yeah.
So you're trying to fight off the urges. So it was actually like what a few of the S&Cs and the coaching staff, they tried to get us to wear like casual clothes a few times just so it doesn't feel like we're getting in the motion of actually going to a game and stuff. And it was the same to Sydney. Like it was a 2.5-hour bus ride on a Friday afternoon with all the traffic going into Sydney. So it was horrible. But then by the time you're there, that's when you have to switch on.
Yeah. Yeah. So could you have a sneaky beer on the plane or on the drive back? Or are they pretty like recovery? I know Daddy Dave's not a big. Yeah,
I mean, I think he's sort of becoming a bit progressive. He's very Melbourne, very progressive. But yeah, look, it got to the point where there had to be balance within it all because there's a lot of boys time away from home. On top of that as well, with the little pay cuts and things like that, and just all these little pieces put together they thought would start to cause a bit of a stir, and we were actually quite lucky we held it together. But they gave a lot of freedom within it as well. So we were after a game, they'd have some beers in the change room, and we sort of knew when to, as a group, sort of have our moments, go for it, and then other times it's pull back. We have to take it quite seriously, and with both those Brisbane games, we had one which was the semi-final, and after that it was the end of it. So we were all kind of just a bit of a relief, time to actually get back with families and stuff. But the first one we took it quite seriously. We're like, okay, well, we're here, we've all bought in. We'll actually hold off it for a little bit, which was good.
How did you view 2020? Because watching you fucking kicked ass last year. That's the best I've ever seen you play. How did you feel about it?
I guess my approach to the year, I definitely set some goals from the start. That was the key. But I took the opportunity in a wider squad spot, and there's a bit of a history with guys there who've done that as well and done really well. Same with Gibbo. He sort of did that the year before and played every game. So look, there was an opportunity there, and I thought, why not go this? And the first part of it was just getting a Super Rugby debut. I mean, I was only 24, which it's not old, but it's not young either for a lot of the guys who are debuting these days. And see how the loose head props like Angus Bell, who's 20 years old, debuting and on playing international rugby at the end of the year. So it's definitely there's a chance and the opportunity there. So the first focus was that, and then kind of as the year went on, it was just picking up and adding more on the field. First it was kind of just hold on and be a part of the team and just do anything you can to be a part of the 23. But then you get sick of being on the bench. You get sick of 10, 15 minute stints training your ass off all week. So after we got to that, it was just I've got to buy in a bit more. What can I actually do? And that kind of gave me a bit more confidence to take what I'd probably do in training and then actually do it on the field. Whereas before it was do it all in training and then just do a small part of it on the field and just kind of get through. But then, started to develop a bit more confidence and a bit more, I guess, leadership in myself and professionalism. I mean, before it definitely, enjoy, a beer or two here or there, and even a couple, when you're young, a couple of weeknights, and it just wasn't working. So taking that a bit more seriously definitely helped.
How old are you now?
25, 26 in a couple months, so nearly there.
Yeah.
Quarter life
So,
crisis.
so you say it's not old, but it's not young. But you've actually had quite a bit of experience. Talk us through. So you played for West Harbour in Sydney, then you went to Gloucester, was it?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So it was kind of out of 20s. It was good. It's where scrum still wasn't, the biggest part of the game. But then as you shift into, men's rugby, it is the cornerstone of a props life. So finding out the hard way through like a preseason with the Tars that just wasn't up to scratch and getting that rude awakening, but definitely needed it. It was like, okay, well, you got to go, if you're going to go down this path of professional rugby and choose it as a career, then you've got to buy into it. So it was sort of a coming of age, go and move out of home, go overseas, fight for myself. So I was lucky enough through my agent, Vicky Korevi, a great man. He's
a great man.
He had a connection with Laurie Fisher and just said, look, there's a loose head over there who's injured, just can't keep on the field. They're sort of looking to shift him on a little bit. So there's a chance. And it wasn't a big money contract like all the sort of European ones. It was, get over there, you play for it, and there's an opportunity there. And then, look, luckily you played over the 2 years. I played, I think, 24 first 10 games, which is pretty big. Only 9 premiership games, which, at the time you think, oh, this is amazing. But you look back and you kind of think, well, could I have done more? Could I have done this? But, I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. I got to scrum against like some of the best props in the world, and even in like some like warm-up games, midweek games, they called A-League. I was going against like Adam Jones,
really
training with, so we get to play him. There was guys like Ben Tapperwhite playing in those games coming back from injury, and it was huge. If you're not playing in the first team, which is full of internationals, then you're at least getting huge opportunities against guys who are coming back as elite standards. So I was lucky enough to go against that. And it was just there was one special moment we were playing in, I think it was Treviso or something like that. And I looked at the team list and everyone on the bench had an international cap against their name except for me. And I thought, what a special group to be a part of and to be able to actually play with. One really, really good memories and stuff, but a huge part in my
Who else was there? Who was there when you were playing? Were there any international front row guys there?
Yeah, so there was a few. There was a tight head, Paul Doran-Jones, who played a couple of caps for England. Richard Hibbard, the hooker.
Oh, yeah.
John Afoa, he was there at the time. Who else did we have? There was there's just, a great bunch. Motu Matu was the hooker who came in. Chibba Hansen came in after that. A couple of the back rowers are all internationals. So there's everyone you look around. There's such big experience there, and we're lucky enough. The scrum coach was Trevor Woodman, who won a World Cup, a Lion as well. And it's funny, you work with some coaches who probably don't like you on a personal level, or you don't get along on that thing, but you get so much out of them still, and probably learn butted heads all the time, but learned so much off someone. So really, really grateful.
What was John Afoa like scrumming against at training every week?
He's the ultimate professional, and then he knows when to draw the line and between off the field stuff, and when he's there, he'll just switch it on. But his skill level was just 5 times above anyone else there in that type 5. He was unbelievable. He probably did it all at such a young age that he was still living in it as that kind of mentality of him being young and quite good and not having to be a leader by speaking. So a lot of what he learned was just watching and how he prepared himself, and he was fantastic, and he's really good for a lot of the younger guys coming through as well.
And he got, I think he got man of the match for Bristol in their last game at 37 or 38 years of age.
He's a human.
Can you imagine that, mate? Can you imagine being a 38-year-old tight head who's played as many games as he has and still kicking ass? That's amazing. I
honestly reckon if he moved back to New Zealand, he'd still be in the running for an All Black spot. He could have been for the last 10, 15 years. He is just such an ultimate professional. He's only done 20 years of professional rugby. It's
At tight head prop.
At tight head prop as well. And he's running around with the ball, which is not good. It's embarrassing everyone else.
So from Gloucester, so I can imagine that would have had a big influence on your progression in terms of like the more technical side of playing in the front row. Where'd you go from there? You came back to Sydney for a bit, or was it straight to the Force?
Yeah, so it was like it kind of came to the point where I wanted to stay around with Gloucester, and there was a little like contract extension, but it compared to where I was second choice in the team at the time. It kind of got to the point where I was playing some good footy and stringing some games together, and I wanted to stay on. It was looking good, but then also it was versus I want to be at home. I want to spend time with my family. My late grandma was still around then as well, so it was like, okay, I want to spend some time, but she's not very well. So it would make sense. And it got to the point where the offer wasn't, what I felt was, up to scratch at the time. So then saw this opportunity at the Force, and my brother was looking to get back to Australia too. And then we kind of looked at it together, and both it was, a little bit improvement. It was almost like a full Super Rugby contract at the time. So we're thinking this is it. And we kind of got sold on the fact that, this is going to be the competition. Super Rugby's dying. World Series Rugby, Global Rapid Rugby is the way forward. So we thought, okay, well, this is a big opportunity. So we both jumped at that and signed on for that. And it was only probably a week after that Gloucester came back and said, oh, no, well, let's do a 3-year contract. Let's do this. First team contract, you'll be a second choice. And I went, well, it's a little bit late now. I've committed to this. I want to stick to it. And then, it was great. I mean, it ended up being quite nice. I got to be with my brother over in Perth. Lots of guys I've grown up playing with and against. So it was good. It was coming home. I was much closer to home as well. So I could, it's still a 5-hour flight over to Perth and Sydney, but
it's in the same body of work. Yeah,
exactly right. So it was a bit in between, but it was much closer to home. So now I made that decision and, quite enjoyed it.
Did you, when you were talking about coming back, who were you dealing with? Was it the coach? Was it Twiggy?
It's so strange. So when all the Force stuff was done through my agent and stuff, but when I was sorting my own kind of stuff over in England, it was all through me. My UK agent at the time, he was kind of just in an agency, wasn't really personally involved. So I was talking to the coach, and the coach didn't deal with any of the contracts. So then I'd speak directly with the Director of Rugby at the time, which was David Humphreys. And, they're open, honest, and, they're quite clear, and they have their roles pretty certain. So you see the Director of Rugby would deal with all the contracts. He wouldn't have to deal with the team list that regularly. He would just focus on that part of it, which kind of good and bad. It gives, the freedom and kind of the honesty to come from not the coach, which is, it's hard to hear sometimes, but it is good.
I actually had Pat Lamb on. So this will come out in a couple of weeks, so it's cool to say that. But I didn't ask him, what is the difference between a head coach and a director of rugby? Because they don't do that here.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit of a strange system. Like I think they've tried to start it here, but it doesn't work that well. But like a head coach is similar to how like in a football team, a manager is your DOR. They direct how everything goes in a full spectrum, from your physios to your performance staff through to your players, and provide a bit of an itemized team list for them. And then the coach then works from underneath it. So I think, Director of Rugby is probably a hard job when, most of those people are coaches themselves.
Do they do any coaching in the teams that you were in?
Very specialised. So David Humphreys, he did a little bit of kicking coaching with, there was at the time Billy Burns and Owen Williams and those kind of blokes.
Yeah.
And he did, but not on a regular basis. And he was, I think, he's one of the best kickers for Ireland that they've ever had. So having more of an influence and having their impact, I think, is only going to benefit the club at the time. And I'm sure there's others there. I mean, Pat Lamb, as you said, like he's a great player himself, and I've heard that he does a lot more coaching than he does just man management.
That's what from the discussion I had with him, he's very hands-on as well as being the director of rugby. But I didn't quite ask him what the role is. Is Harrison still playing?
Playing subbies, I think, this year.
Just
I
doesn't
think he's
not interested
yeah.
anymore.
Look, that was probably another thing, like adjusting after playing full time at the Force, and I think he'd been playing professional rugby for about 5 years around then.
Yeah.
That was a real hard kind of come to terms. Like he'd done all the things which to prepare himself for the next job and the next part of his life. Like he had 2 degrees to his name. You know, he'd prepared himself. He was ready to go, and it's just kind of still there. And it wasn't the kind of career path he was worried about. It was actually making that jump into what he wanted to do with those degrees.
Yeah.
So it probably took maybe even 12 months for him to really get a certainty of what he wanted to do. And now, like he's working full time as a consultant in the city and doing quite well at that. And now he's sort of getting back to where he was. He's thinking, okay, well now I can get back into rugby and commit to it. He was contemplating playing West Harbour and shoot shield and that, but he just thought he couldn't commit fully to the team and stuff, and didn't want to take away from them. So he thought, okay, well he can manage it a bit more in subbies.
How old is he now?
He's 27.
So he could still play, because I saw him play. He was doing something with West last year. He was like a development officer or something.
Yeah, I think Sammy White's has taken over that now. But he was doing a lot of the development programs with the juniors at West, and he was actually still around in like not just a social role, but like a
mentoring
club role mentoring role. His background's leadership and management.
Are they the degrees? That's the degree that he sort of went towards?
He did I think a psychology degree, and then he did another course on leadership and management after that while he was in England. So yeah, he thought, may as well. He wants to be involved with rugby. I think our whole family, like even mum still hangs around West Harbour, collecting balls on the sideline and all the rest of it. So we love the club and we love being around rugby. So anything to still be involved was the key part of it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, mate, I just jump around as things come to me.
No, I love
it. Mate, you're one of the few that I did no preparation for, because I feel like I know you well enough to have plenty of things to talk about. Okay, so you go from the Force to the Rebels. How did that come about?
It was weird. Like we were speaking in the year. It kind of came to terms once the Rapid Rugby and all that World Series rugby fell through. And I was thinking, look,
Did it actually fall through?
It did. There was supposed to be, more games, more teams. They were speaking of a Hawaiian team. They were speaking of I think they ended up having like a Samoan mixed team, but they had a couple Pacifica teams, which would have been awesome. And they were speaking about all these great players they were going to have involved, but then you sort of saw Super Rugby keep going on the same level and start to grow a little bit more, or kind of back to the normal. So once I started to realise that, and they told us, we're going to be playing against these teams. Okay, well, if we play against those teams, what sort of players are we playing against? And they're like, playing against guys sort of, club rugby, big level. And I was thinking, not to put it down or anything, but, I really wanted to test myself a lot more. And I thought, I'm never really going to reach my potential unless, I give Super Rugby a crack. And the first sort of instant was like a bit of interest from the Brumbies. And there was opportunity there, but then I saw Flipper and Theo sign on. So it's really, really, really hard to say yes to going to that. And we're like, okay, we'll work on the Rebels, we'll see. And we thought, okay, there's a first team spot there, but that didn't work out. And there was just a wider squad there sort of towards the end of the year. And I thought, look, it's an opportunity. My brother's just moved on from the Force. I want to test myself. There is an opportunity there. And then seeing, looking at the team and stuff, I really backed myself to be able to have a crack there and play some Super Rugby with the Rebels.
So you went in as like, how they have guys that go in pre-season just for training?
Yeah, so I wasn't a red shirt, but
why do they do that? Why do they do that, by the way?
They sort of stopped it now, which is good. They had it last year, and I don't know. I think I personally think it's one of the hardest things to feel almost segregated as soon as you arrive. you definitely have to earn the right and stuff to wear the jersey, and I love the part of that. But to kind of even look different on the field and look different in training, I just don't think that's that's a solid thing for the team and growing a good base. But those guys, from club rugby, there's been some fantastic red shirts in the time. Even in that first preseason, like Seth Fagasi was down there for a bit, and he's played 50 odd caps for the Reds, playing in Japan at the moment. Could have sworn I think he's been in a few Wallaby squads and all the rest of it.
He's a beast.
He's an absolute beast, and he came down and absolutely killed it. But I think he got another opportunity somewhere else. But the standard of those guys has just gone up and up and up, and plenty of guys have signed out of that position and gone on to play some really good footy. I think it may not have been Matt Phillip, but there was. I think it was Matt Phillip originally came in right at the start as that, and then progressed straight away through and through, and obviously played a fair bit with the Force, but just took it. Dave always talks about took his opportunity, and he's killing it now. But I was just in between sort of like an ETS wider squad contract there. Yeah, not great. It's sort of paycheck to paycheck stuff, but the opportunity and kind of the professionalism of the setup here was second to none. There's an S&C, like head of performance here, Will Marwick, who's unbelievable and kind of understands players as individuals. And you look at a textbook, that's not going to apply to everyone to the T. So it gives everyone sort of a bit of comfortability in their own ability to perform, and they're not having to step up to unrealistic expectations and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you a full contract this year?
Yeah. So this is, full contract and signed on for next year, which is good. I kind of fell in love with it last year, and it was, I personally thought it was a really successful year, and just, a really kind of growth-minded team and culture and stuff. And Melbourne's a beautiful place too. I love it. So
it's a fun place to live if you like eating and you don't mind a beer every now and again.
That's why I love it. But genuinely, every night you can find a new place, and you'll never get old. There's so much to it, and I still feel like I've only been in a bubble of sort of near training and that. So there's so much more out there, and it's just a good place. Really enjoyed. It's between Sydney or here for my top two places, I think.
How's everything down there now? Is it like everything's open, or have they still got restrictions on you guys?
So there's still a few like just restrictions with going into like restaurants and pubs.
Is that just for you guys, or just for all Melburnians in general?
So I think we all got a directive from Rugby Australia to sort of be COVID safe and all the rest of that. But for us personally, like I think the last week we've all been wearing masks again, just for the odd case that popped up. Not like a lockdown sort of thing, but just masks and being careful, but mostly back to normal. I came back down at the end of last year during the lockdown, and that was horrible. You're allowed out of the house for like an hour a day. Like it was really, really strict. No, like only takeaway food, things like that. So quite a struggle, and you can't go and see mates. You can't have friends over, and it was quite tough then.
I remember seeing Laurie Weeks on Instagram. I think he was in lockdown for like 4 months or something.
Oh, they had it terrible. So all the staff, like most of the staff, and even about a third of our squad had to stay back.
So they stayed back, and they couldn't come and meet you guys. So they were just in total lockdown.
Yeah. So there was like Ross Petty came across, but he had to do 14 days quarantine in Perth and then fly to Terrigal. There was a couple other guys. Gus Cottrell had to do 14 days into Brisbane, but then he moved on to his new contract. So there was plenty of guys who got stuck back here, and I think they were allowed to meet up with like a coach or something for an hour a day or something like that, but then the rest of it was spent at home.
You're kidding.
And so like being a part of a team and for guys, especially when you're injured as well, like I can only think of how much of a struggle that was. Like I'm sure they got close to each other and looked after each other here, but such a small group of people when there's a large chunk, over there kind of not free and open, in Terrigal, but still a lot more freedom than they had here in Melbourne.
Do the Rebels do much with the mental side of games? Mental side of the individual?
We're pretty good. Like last year they kind of offered us like an outsider sort of contractor sports psychologist, Dave Diggle, and there was about 12 or 13 boys that took up that opportunity. I went for it as well, and it cost the boys individually as well. It wasn't put up by the thing, but it was an opportunity again, and it worked with a lot of like the goal setting and dealing with injuries, dealing with all that stuff, and it was a really really good thing. And this bloke, Dave, he's worked with Alan Alatoa, he works with Dane Hallett-Petty regularly, Matt Samoa, all those guys, and they found that they actually, they are more consistent because they use this guy to just talk through set goals, all that sort of stuff. So they're very good with that. And then probably that Will Marwick, he goes back to it. He's big on that. And if you ever need to kind of chat and talk about performance goals and anything to do with that, they're very open to it. It's probably the most connected and like a loving club I've ever been a part of, where, if you do have an issue, there's going to be 5 to 10 people there lining up to help you with it. And then if you're dealing with tough stuff, there's people there to help you with that as well. So it's quite a good support network.
I think I've said this on here before, but when I did the NRC in Melbourne in 2015, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the Rupert guy at the club, lovely guy. He said to me that rugby or professional sport is one of the only jobs where you are judged every single day, every single week, and you're in your mid-20s or early 20s or early 30s for some of us, and it's very difficult to deal with. So with you, like if you're going through some anxiety in terms of performance or whatever, is it more talking it out with someone, or do you have any tactics that you use to get yourself into a good frame of mind?
Yeah, I guess being honest with yourself is probably the key thing. If you're going to go and connect and say, oh, I should be starting in the team, I should be doing this, and you don't have the evidence or you don't have the kind of the experience to do so, then there's no point in doing it. I guess like when it comes to training and game time, their coaches are only there to be, to improve you, as a team and individually. So if you can have clear, open conversations with them and they can be honest and they can be clear with you, then I think that's the only way you're going to really get better from it. Yeah. There's been times where I've struggled with my own performances, and I get my feedback sugar-coated. And personally,
just the way you like it. Just the way you like it.
Yeah, just the way I like it. I mean, I just want a bit more honesty in it sometimes, and yeah. I can hear that as opposed to some of the guys who can't deal with that as well. And that's a big change. Like earlier in my career, I 100% would hate to hear this was shit, that was bad, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and then I'd have an excuse for it. But now it is about taking it on the chin, looking at where you can improve on the finer details, and then going back with a plan. Yeah. One of the oldest things I had a real struggle with was at Gloucester, when I probably thought to myself, I deserve to be starting, I deserve to be this, and I didn't. But at the time, that's the way I thought. And I went and spoke with the sports psychologist there, and he said, well, if they're going to give you this feedback, and then you need to have an answer for it. You need to have it and an understanding of what they're saying. And if you don't, the chances are that they're most likely right. And when I started to look at what they're saying, and I was making up things that didn't connect, then I realized, okay, well, they're right. I do need to work on this, and I do need to. And it was probably a more humbling thing, but it was, I found myself grow a lot more in that period then by just accepting that, there is plenty to work on.
I guess criticism's good, but if people just criticize you and don't tell you how to fix things, that's probably something I would have struggled with a bit. But if someone's saying, you need to work on your ball running or your tackling, but let's do this, this, and this, and actually have a plan for you, is that what you mean? Like you prefer criticism like that?
Yeah, exactly. Like the word sorry, constructive criticism, but it's just explaining why, rather than just saying this is that, go fix it yourself. Explain to me, help me along the way. And I think that's probably what makes the Rebels stand out in the coaching staff, is they'll identify an area that you need to work on, but then they're going to give you little stepping stone things to then improve that. So, one of the, it's pretty in depth, but like one of the things I had to struggle with was diving into tackles. And then we broke it down into really, really small parts with Kevin Foote, the D coach. And, we refined it and we'd say, yeah, I should put time and effort into my individual sort of skill. And I found myself getting better and better at that because, he was invested in it. I was now accountable. And then I was invested because he cared about what I was doing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Who's coaching the scrum down there now?
So we're a bit in between. Jeff Parling's helping out with that, but we're getting a bit of feedback from Petrus Duplessis, the Wallaby scrum coach.
Okay. So what's he like?
So we haven't had any. We've actually got a dinner with him next week or this week, but we've just been working with Jeff, and it's kind of a weird setup. But we did it for the majority of last year, where like a bit of a leadership group of the players run a lot of the scrum stuff we do, and sort of our focus. So there's about 4 or 5 of us that did talk of it regularly and do our preview, do our prep, and then kind of work with the coaches then to set it up in the game and stuff. So it's very unique at the moment. As we had Nick Henderson last year, who was quite good, bit of a club stalwart of the Rebels, but he's moved on now. So yeah, it's definitely a new setup, having to kind of lead it ourselves. But I think we take a lot of confidence out of it because we're all across the same page.
Because you've got the ownership of it as well. So the players having the ownership means that if it stuffs up, it's on you, and if it goes well, it's on you as well.
Which hopefully more of that.
Have you had any phone calls from Dave Rennie?
Nothing. No, I haven't heard anything. It was sort of a weird end to the end last year. I probably looked over my head a little bit and thought that there may have been opportunity there.
I thought so too, just quietly.
But yeah, look, it came out that they chose some other guys and things like that, and that's all part of it. My goals last year didn't have Wallabies in it for that year. My goals were to be up there, be consistent, and be starting for the Rebels, and I tick those boxes. So I guess when you hit those goals, you set new ones, and that is probably the next thing I'd love to do. But I think there's still so much I've got to work on my game and things I've got to do to be up to scratch and go against those All Black front rows, the South African front rows, things like that. Physically I need to be there, but then mentally I feel I've got that drive and mindset now that that's the next step for me, and I really want to get there.
Who's sorry, I'm going to get a bit rugby nerdy on you. What's the last preseason been like for you guys?
It's been good. Like it's been a lot about kind of developing, not saying no. Not saying no. Building resilience, building more than just fitness, and having that mindset that you can't be controlled by anyone else or any other team. So it's been good. It's been a lot of young guys coming through, and a lot of the senior players in our Wallabies actually haven't done much of the preseason up until the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge onus on those kind of middle guys who are still new to the team, but to take another step up themselves and take a lot of the ownership of training. The coaches are really good in setting things out, but those sort of middle guys who've been around for only a short time have had to take a lot of leadership in this and in setting standards. And I think we've probably seen more growth than we normally would, just having older blokes there telling everyone what to do, and people just sitting in the middle. Now we've got guys who can lead from the bottom up.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess normally if you have like all the Wallaby guys there, you're just going to follow what they're lead. But now that you're one of those sort of guys, that's going to push you guys even more, and that can only be better for you guys as a team. What's a normal week like at training? What's it look like in terms of Monday to Friday?
It's like we sort of break our week in half. We do two of the same sort of things. On a Monday, we'll try and go really fast, attack focused, up tempo. So you find yourself running a lot more on these days. Get a big lower leg lift in the morning, and then do that in the afternoon with a couple meetings in between. Tuesday will be traditionally a double day on field, where you'll do a unit session in the morning. And for forwards, it's a big day. We look over at the back to just kick into each other. It's a headache. That's all they do, mate. Oh, it's always been like that. And they always seem to be just doing nothing. But we'll be doing scrums, doing mauls, contact in the morning, little break in the middle, uppers, and then afternoon session, which is a lot more short, sharp, contact-based, a lot of defense stuff. And it's a big day. Going into a Wednesday off, you need that day off to really get some time. And then it'll follow suit similar on a Thursday, very fast day, shorter, but just fast running, all that. And then a Friday, they'll really cook you. So you're all right by Monday, but you're not feeling good on Sunday.
So you got Saturday, Sunday off?
Yeah. So there's been a couple Saturday sessions mixed into it, which is good. But yeah, in that first block in December, we didn't do any Saturday training, which was actually quite good because with so many new people, we had the opportunity to sort of have some socials, have some opportunity for us to all go out and mixes with all these new blokes and meet each other on and off the field. So that was really good. But we, I look back and I actually don't think we needed a Saturday session. We were doing so much during the week, and we're getting through a lot of work that we were covering those bases.
Yeah. Do they still feed you down there?
They do. It's a bit weird at the moment because we're out at La Trobe at the university.
Okay, so you're not at Amy Park anymore?
No, so we're not back there for a couple of weeks and that, but we're out at La Trobe, but they still sort us out a couple of meals a week and bring it in. I think that's the key. Like any club, there's been a few clubs where I've been at where, in Gloucester we had a chef and we had a sous chef and there was 3-4 meals a day, like we were looked after.
Yeah.
I reckon that's key. Like I've heard stories about teams where guys will just go out and get takeaway. If it's not there, they're just going to go get whatever they want. So no, we're really sorted. We get some good stuff. So boys are always on top of this or food and that, or most of it. What
are you weighing at the moment?
I'm about 120. I'm scared for the next few weeks if I start blowing up. But it's weird. I've always grown up, being able to put on a lot of weight very easily. And now it's getting to the stage where it's starting to tip the other way and where I can lose weight quite quickly. So the S&Cs have been on top of me about actually maintaining. So it's not been a bad problem to have.
Jeez, that's nice, mate. I wish I had that problem.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunately, it's not a cheeseburger and that everywhere. It's an extra protein shake. But look, on the weekend, if you can make an excuse.
Mate, you got to. There's so many good food places in Melbourne. If you don't treat yourself, you're doing yourself an injustice, I think.
Exactly. You got to have the balance.
Mate, I've got some random questions for you. Life after sport. Have you done any study or have you got any thoughts about what you want to do once you hang the boots up in another 10, 15 years' time?
That'd be nice. Yeah, look, there's a few things. Like I'm studying at the moment. I'm studying a nutrition and exercise degree. Yep. But I mean, if I'm completely honest, like I'm still so open to anything after rugby. I don't have my mind set on one thing. I've definitely got a bit of like a focus towards business and wanting to open a business eventually. But I committed to a nutrition and exercise degree years and years ago, and I just want to finish it. Okay, you sort of come so far, you want to get it done, and I enjoy it, which is good too. So a combination of both, would be nice down the track. But yeah, I don't have anything set in stone. Like I've just got that kind of ambiguity, which is good and bad.
Yeah. So you can just kind of chase whatever you're interested in as you go. Have you got any interest in coaching?
Yeah, I quite enjoy it. I haven't done anything down here, but when I was back in Sydney for holidays and stuff, I was doing some individual coaching. I really love it. Seeing some, extra Trinity guys from school and things like that. And I really enjoy being around it. Professionally, I don't think so. I don't think that's the path I'd really want to go down. But, anything's possible. You never know.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
What uni are you studying through?
I'm through Open Universities. I'm through Uni of South Australia. So they're one of the only ones to offer fully online for the health degrees and around that. I was originally at Sydney University, but it was, if you wanted assistance on assignments and things like that, you had to be part of their EAP program.
Oh, yeah, right.
Had to be playing for Sydney Uni, and I thought I'd rather die than play for Sydney Uni. So
yeah, you and me both. Are you a coffee man?
I am, very much so. So
you're in probably the best place on earth for that, just quietly. Where's your favourite place and what do you drink?
Definitely Swan Street, Cheeky Monkey. Okay. One of the best, and I'm a strong latte man. But I actually enjoy coffee, so I don't want to have it too strong, so I can have 2 or 3 a day.
Yeah.
If any more, then I'm staring at the ceiling for 4 hours at night trying to get to bed. But
maybe that's my problem.
Yeah, it's definitely. I've had to shift onto the caffeine-free Diet Coke. So
have you?
Yes. Yeah. At night time, if you have that, personally, if I have a Diet Coke, I'm wired till about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. So
yeah,
little things like that. But coffee in the day always.
I didn't even know there was caffeine-free Diet Coke.
Yeah, the little gold can.
Right.
Pepsi do it too. Yeah, they are a little game changer when you want to have that little nighttime refreshment.
Mate, I got to educate myself. Do you listen to any podcasts or watch any documentaries and stuff like that?
Here and there. I'm honestly not too into anything, but I'm into everything. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So not really a podcast, man, as per se, but definitely documentaries and stuff online. It's a bit weird. I started leaning towards David Ferrier, and he does dark tourism.
Okay, I haven't seen
that
one.
on Netflix. Very weird, but he just goes to all these places all over the world and explores where people go to see places where pretty scary or crazy shit's happen. So that's pretty interesting. And I'm a big Louis Theroux man.
Yes, he's awesome.
Love Louis Theroux. Read a few of his books and stuff, but just amazing some of the people and what he can get away with as a reporter as well, without sounding too harsh.
What's that one he did on what's the crazy church in the US? The Scientologist. Scientologist.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched that one, I'd highly recommend it.
Unbelievable. Yeah, some of the things. It's funny. A lot of the stuff tends to go over to the USA with a lot of his reports
for some reason.
Yeah.
Are you a gamer?
I am.
So that's how you spend your free time.
Yeah. So it's but the thing is now with the missus here, she's very on me. If like she'll walk past and see me playing, and then she'll find a job for me to do. So when I can, it's when she's at work, and I'll squeeze an hour or two in. But no, we've got a big legion of gamers in the team, and guys that have moved on. But guys like Geordie Alessi, Dickie Hardwick, Gibbo.
I know Gibbo's a big gamer.
Oh, he's huge. I think he's like platinum level at each game.
How is that maniac? How is that maniac going?
He's awesome, mate. He's fantastic. He's all loved up. He's got a new dog and all the rest of it.
He's got a dog as well.
Yeah, got a little French bulldog. So you wouldn't believe it, but he's doing really well. He'll be back running around with the team and stuff in the next week or two. So back for round one, which is good as well.
So he was kicking ass last year as well.
Killing it. And then
your voodoo doll must have really paid off.
Mate, it was tough. I don't know how he does it. He'll pop his shoulder out in training and then go back and run around and keep going. He's probably one of the toughest men I've ever met.
I got to tell you this story. A couple of years ago, might have been 3 years ago, he's doing 260 kilo deadlifts in the gym. Like light for him, just crazy.
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh, my shoulder's a little sore. Oh, I might go get it checked out." He had a completely torn pec for about 3 months.
He's unbelievable. And he keeps going. He just doesn't stop.
Mate, Gibbon. Have you met Alex before?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Gibbon boys are just bred different.
Yeah, they are unbelievable. We when we were over in the Force, older Gibbo came over with the Stockmans rugby.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He tore up. And then tore up after at the social party.
Yeah, we can't talk.
Unbelievable.
Look, as good a rugby player as Alex is, he's about 5 times as good off field.
100%.
Man, I got to ask. I've been asking everyone that's come on this so far. What advice would you give 18-year-old Cameron Orr, if any?
Definitely take it more seriously.
That's good advice.
It's yeah. I mean, you never know where you're going to be in 6 months, a year or two from now. But knowing then, just this was the path I was going to take, and I always sort of knew it. But take it more seriously when I was young. Because I think there was too many fun nights, too much, not spending time looking after myself, but sort of realizing it now, later than never.
I'd probably say the same thing to myself.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. I love every bit of my growing up and everything like that. but it's also, you look back now and there was so many more opportunities that you could have seen, or I could have seen, if I'd, been there for it.
What are your memories of the 2015 Barbarians tour?
One of the greatest times. It was sort of weird that week. I put on about 4 or 5 kilos. I going into my first preseason with the Tars after that as well. So it was that balance of taking it seriously, but then also saying you're on Barbar's tour, go and enjoy. So no, one of my fondest memories ever. What a team that was.
Mate,
that was
the night before, we won't talk about it on here because we ruined some people's lives, but the night before the last game.
One of the greats. Driving around.
I wish I had a video camera on me that night.
Oh, one of the greats. Who's it?
It was Paulie Asquith, yourself. You were driving, and Devet Roos.
Horrible.
Maybe once you're retired, we can tell that story. Probably. Actually, we probably can't. To be honest.
Yeah, probably never.
Mate, that's a good way to end. I appreciate you doing this.
No worries. Yeah, I've enjoyed it, mate. Thank you.
Mate, when's the first game? Couple of weeks?
2 weeks now. I think we've got a trial next weekend against Rugby Runners, and then the weekend after.
So you'll be back about round 2, round 3, maybe?
Hopefully, yeah. I'm hoping for the first block, but it might look like the second block of the second round of games.
Okay.
But, cool. just trying to look after it best as we can. It's a bit hard to kind of give a time frame at the moment, unfortunately, but which is hard to hear, especially just close to the season. But yeah, we'll be right. We'll get there eventually. And
what other loose heads are there? You, Gibbo,
Caboose Seeloff can play loose head as well, so he'll jump between both. And then we got a couple of young guys. One from Queensland, a Mossy. Yep. And another one from Melbourne, Isaac, who's quite good, good players, but still developing as scrummages and things.
Is that
like
a Mossy Takiri? Is that his name?
Yeah. Okay. Cousin of Lossie.
I did his highlight reel. He's quite a good player.
He's class. He's been injured too, which is a bit unfortunate.
Ferretti, no more? No mas?
Ferretti retired halfway through last year. Just focused a bit more on his family. I think he's got 5 kids. Or whatever it is. Yeah, okay. So he's got and he's, with his religion and stuff, I think he's doing a fair bit of preaching and teaching with that. And actually, I think I saw on his Facebook before that he's doing seminars and stuff for people and cool. Life after rugby and it's quite good. He's one of the great men to have around already.
He's a good fella, mate. I was surprised when he retired because it's, how many 135 kilo guys do you get that can run like that?
Unbelievable. And he came through the Melbourne system as well. Like, you forget, like, it's definitely not a rugby state at the moment. So seeing guys like that come through and from such an early age, they play a big part for guys around them and guys in rugby in Melbourne too.
Cool. I'd have to agree with you. There's a couple other guys. Geordie, Ulysses.
Yep.
Who else is from down there?
Trevor, Hosea.
Yeah, great, good rugby player.
And Ponte, big Ponte as well. He's from down here.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still here. He's looking ginormous. But like fit ginormous as well. So I back him to have a real big year.
Mate, he was so I did a couple of weeks in 2018 there during the preseason for like one of the trial games. And he had just started training there then and was apparently he'd never played rugby before and was a leaguey. And Laurie Weeks is like, Chubby, what's this guy? And he's just running over like your Lepetti Tamani type.
In a touch drill as well.
Yeah, something like that. It was just go, wow. He's like the guy that buys their girlfriend heaps of presents that just makes the rest of us look bad. He's like it's just new age tight end prop. All right, bro.
Mate, he's unbelievable.
I think you'll play for Australia in the next couple of years. And I think you will too. I've got money on it.
It'd be nice. It's definitely on the to-do list.
Good shit, mate. Good to talk to you, my brother. Good to see you. Tell Gibbo I said hello.
Will do. Yeah. No, it's good to see you too, my man. And you've been looking after yourself. You're looking well.
I've not been looking after myself. I've been working so fucking much. But, I'm at that point.
But
I've
that
just
is
jumped.
looking after yourself. That is the good stuff.
It is. I'm not getting paid for much of it yet, but it'll come.
The endorsements, they're on their way. They're on their way.
Mate, after this one, so how's this lineup? I've got Pat Lamb this week, Kieran Reid next week, Cameron Orr, BPA, Sakopi Kepu. Who else I got? Nick Maloof's coming on.
That's huge. Mate, it's honestly, they're apart from myself, they're big names.
Well, mate, the biggest
Very
name.
big names.
There's some big names. But Kieran Reid, Cameron Orr. How's that?
That's good. I'm the curtain raiser. Yeah.
Mate, I couldn't. Wait, I was talking to Jed. He's like, because Holloway's playing with him. He's like, I reckon Kieran Reid might talk to you. I'm like, okay, sure. Sent him a text, said yes straight away. I'm like my sixth podcast ever. I'm talking to 120 Test All Black.
That's unbelievable. That's huge.
It's very strange, mate. It's very strange.
They'll be lining up to be on the show in no time, mate.
Well, once I release yours, I reckon they will.
Oh, it'd be nice.
Are you got much on the rest of the day, or just playing games and shit?
No, not much. Just some uni work to do still, so I've got to get it done. But yeah, just get ready. And I've actually taken on a bit of a role with the Rebels of like leading the social stuff. So a bit of planning to do for the year ahead. But some good things. I'll have to get some advice off you.
I reckon you'll be very, very good at that somehow.
Hopefully. Some tricks up my sleeve.
All right, mate. Thanks for doing this. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Cheers, Chubby.
Cheers, brother. Bye-bye.